Hello and welcome to Business Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi and you're watching the Day 4 coverage from the World Economic Forum. And kicking off our day's coverage today is Anant Maheshwari, President and CEO of Global Regions of Honeywell. Anant, good morning. Welcome. It's crispy cold right now, but there's been a lot of heat and debate and topics that have been generated at Davos. In that backdrop, I want to sort of toss the first question to you. The world is changing. The trade order that had been built over 30-40 years, that seems to be disintegrating. Business as we knew it and the way that we did business earlier also seems to be changing. Take it from here and explain to our viewers what is changing for businesses, especially those that operate worldwide.
So, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's always now customary for me to come and speak with you at Davos. It's a pleasure to connect every year with you and the Business Today team. So, very quickly, I would say every conversation in Davos has had geopolitics and AI in some shape or form, either at the beginning or in the middle or in the end or all through in terms of the conversations. Now, every political leader, the geographic leader from a government point of view in Davos has called out that the old order is gone. The new order is being developed. What does it mean for businesses? Businesses used to run a very integrated global ecosystem where they had global businesses, large regions like Europe or Asia Pacific, where they used to look at the business. Today, they have to look at it country by country. Germany is different from UK, is different from Italy and France. Similarly, Korea and Japan are very different from Singapore or in Malaysia. And therefore, very interestingly, I would say the only models that are relevant to learn from and do this globally is the India and the China model. Because a lot of countries operated India and China very distinctly over the last 10-15 years, and I think therefore the India model becomes even more relevant as you look at how countries will be operated by global companies in the future. So that's in a different way, India's model is going to be very important.
Explain the India model and also try and contextualize it by comparison with China.
So both the countries had a very local presence for many of the companies. I'll take the Honeywell example. We had a full supply chain, a local innovation, local leadership, thinking about the markets and the businesses very much in a local fashion. And the global businesses used to give a lot of leeway to the India and the China businesses. I think that maturity has built over the last 15 years. Honeywell was very early in this game. We did it for 2 decades now. And we took that model to the other high growth regions earlier. And now we are taking it to all the markets outside of the United States.
Does the India model, for you and perhaps most other companies in your view, does that get impacted by the high tariffs to one of India's significant export destinations, the United States? Because, you know, it's not just about exports. The supply chain also comes from various other countries that have been impacted. Has that changed or is it continuing at a steady pace?
I think having different kinds of costs of doing business has been part of the supply chains forever. Good for us was that we started reconfiguring them with the advent of COVID. So we actually got a lot of local supply chains done even at that trade disruption point in 2020 and 21. And therefore we were very geared to manage this. And to just also contextualize it, even though the US is a very, very important market and it has its own local supply chains, we also serve many parts of the world which are very large countries, and that's a very significant volume for us, more than half of our company.
You know, you've given us a very good trend of understanding, because we sometimes just focus on the macro numbers, the rate of tariffs, the effective rate, but you brought in a company operating perspective. So I thank you for introducing that into the discussion. I want to therefore follow up. At a macro policy level, India has been wanting to develop local indigenous manufacturing. There are certain sectors which have had a good success rate, certain which are work in progress, and hopefully in the future as well. Does this trend support and bolster the case for domestic manufacturing? You could argue about the nature of PLIs. Let's leave that aside. Does this trend feed into India's macro policy desire for a greater manufacturing industrial base?
Absolutely, and rather than speaking in generic, let me take an example. We inaugurated our Make in India cameras, CCTV cameras last year in 2025. That project, of course, began a couple of years back. So we were already anticipating all of this coming in. The Make in India policies of the government of India definitely helped in getting us aligned to do a lot of the work here. Now that we've built that capability in India, we have a business model called East to West, and therefore we take from the East to the rest of the world. And therefore, earlier it was just China, now it's also India. And whatever we manufacture there, we will take it to the rest of the world.
Quick news point kind of question. We are perhaps on the cusp of a historic trade deal between India and the European Union. Separately, President Trump also spoke about a trade deal with India. Let's leave that aside. How do you see the impact of a trade deal between India and the EU?
I would not have very specific comments on that because I'm not very close to the details of that trade deal. The simple principle that I would say is we evaluate each of these supply chains country to country, and therefore the comment that I made earlier connects back to this. We will definitely use the India capability a lot in many of the Middle Eastern countries. That's the first port of call, and then from there it goes into Europe.
You spoke about Make in India. There's been Make in China for decades now. What is the runway that you see for Make in India? Again, at an industry, country level observation.
I think it's a long sort of path, and there are many different sectors that are already beginning to happen. Electronics, India has already done a lot. And it's happening. I think there are companies there who are saying which will be the next Foxconn and will it come out of India or not. So I think that's the aspiration that everybody has to see, and we would love to see something like that happen.
Okay. Tell us what you can about how Honeywell plans to further double down on the India opportunity.
So maybe first of all, I think India is one of our best performing markets globally. And I would not say it is only dependent on the macro economy. That is great. I think the economy is doing great, and we are doing great along with it. But the good news is that we are growing faster than our end markets in India. That means we are doing something very much right in serving the country better. Because it's that capability that we built over 2 decades, which is now coming to fore in how we position. I think it starts with a great sort of group of people that we have in India. Our teams are truly world class in terms of what we do there. And this is all happening in the context of the transformation at Honeywell, where we are separating into these 3 companies globally.
I was about to come to that. So yeah, go ahead. Explain to that and how that is going to operate.
This was announced last February, and I marvel at it. I always say this is such a major transformation, but this is also something that Honeywell just knows how to do. We are known as an execution company. We get stuff done. And therefore, how we are managing this whole transformation inside, it's quite amazing to see. It's great to be to experience it firsthand. To take an example, we created this first of the 3 companies that we talked about. The Solstice company got created last quarter. It's now a separate company on the stock exchanges. It's running completely separately, and it happened seamlessly in spite of all the disruptions that you've seen in different parts. So I just feel that is likely to happen as we go forward, and we're on track to do that for the major one, which is the Honeywell Aerospace and Honeywell.
Yeah, absolutely. Big year for the group, and we'll see how that pans out. Let's come to AI. And there was a remark that minus trade and minus the US President's visit, viewers, this could well be the World AI Conference in some ways, the World AI Forum. But what I want to discuss is the evolution, as you have seen from your personal expertise, as well as from a company operations industry, of the evolution in AI. Has AI over the past 1 year added to productivity, or are we still searching for a good ROI on the AI investments that many corporations have made.
So, first of all, I'll comment to say this has been the World AI Conference for the last 3 years.
Last 3 years, wow.
Every year we've seen different versions of it come through. We spoke about it last year. And you asked me what's different in the operating world compared to the IT world, given my experience base of having operated both in the IT world and now in the operations world. And I have to say, in the IT world, you have this bias to believe that data is readily accessible. It is. It is either on your email thread inside the company or on the data sort of platforms that you have inside a company with which you run the company, or it's the internet that you're able to get a lot of data from. And therefore, you can get a lot of IT data, which is the fulcrum of AI. You need data to start doing anything on AI. So data is very easily available in IT. It is not in the operations world. In the operations world, data is locked into proprietary front-end systems. So you go to a manufacturing plant, you go to a building, and in the building you have a lot of endpoints like fire detectors, like access control, CCTV. There is building management, there's air conditioning, there's a lot of stuff. Data is locked in those proprietary systems. And you can't just take it out by putting in a sensor. The access to data is very different in the operating world. Therefore, the question begs itself, how will AI ever happen in the operating world? The second piece is domain. You can get to that data, but if you're in a refinery and you don't understand what that data truly means, you can do nothing with it in terms of really creating AI. This is not just stuff that you create models on. And finally, if you take any critical infrastructure, we spoke about this concept last year. These sectors don't require a probability. I gave you the example last year of saying you will not board a flight if you are told probability is if this pilot running that aircraft will use AI and you have very high probability that it will fly. You'll say, I'd rather not take that flight. Yeah. But that's the same for a refinery, that's same for a critical building, that's same for many other things that operating assets are. So take the three concepts of data, domain, and deterministic. Those are the building blocks of AI in the operations world. I think that's where the world has evolved to appreciate that in 2025. And there are real examples that are now coming to fore. I would say the energy industry is really leading it. I have now excitement that the first of the autonomous plant operations in the energy industry have got going. I know of examples in the United States, in the Middle East, in Asia, where autonomous plants are beginning to take shape. And that brings me to the new concept of physical AI. I think physical AI is really where we will see not just an ability to access AI through your mobile phone, but also for somebody on the shop floor to say, AI is really useful for me. And it's helping me to do my work better. It's enhancing what all I can get done in terms of productivity. So I am seeing enough and more examples now of that happening around the world. 2026 for me is the year when I would like to see the scaling of this. There are now very good operating examples, but you can still start counting them. I think hopefully by the end of 26, we would say this is a trend that is happening at scale. And that's what we will see in different geographies.
I want you to take this and sort of supplant it on what you see happening in India. Is there a sort of comparable path that you can sketch out for our viewers with regard to how it will pan out in India?
So again, maybe I'll merge the two conversations that we had earlier today, which is first around geopolitics and how each country is different, and then AI. Physical AI is likely to be very different for every country. And why am I saying that? Just imagine 5 biggest economies on the planet: US, China, Germany, India, and Japan. And imagine a car plant, an automotive plant, in each of these 5 geographies. It's very likely the car plant has different products. It looks different. It operates differently because there are different work practices.
Serves a local market.
Very different markets. It's different technologies. And most importantly, very different people skills and very different ways of working on the shop. Physical AI is taking all of these inputs and converting that into AI. So it is likely that the physical AI created in a car plant in India is likely to look very different for the physical AI in a car plant in Japan, which is coming from a legacy of production of 40 years, while India is creating a lot of greenfield, and therefore it's likely to do it very, very differently. And this is not just conceptual. I said the energy industry is also doing it. I'm seeing that happen in the energy industry already globally. So to your question of how it will be different in India, the physical AI that India can develop will be very different and at scale, because India has scale. So the ability to do that across the country and then make that as an example for the rest of the world could be quite unique. So it's a unique opportunity for India.
Just a quick follow-up. Could the current lack of certain technologies, core technologies in AI hold us back from that, or is this just applications which are companies and startups and the system will get it right eventually?
So I don't think there is a technology gap in terms of constraints that you would have in developing this. A lot of the skills already exist. If I were to speak specifically of India, it is one of the largest markets with AI skills. That capability already exists. These are surveys that I think India is the number 2 in terms of skill availability of AI professionals. So I don't think that is the limiting factor. It's really about how you apply this and start getting some real ROI at scale in specific situations. And I already see that happening. I'll take the example of buildings. We've seen that take off in India. I won't name it, but there is a very large company in India which has just finalized this project with us, wherein all of their buildings will be connected by the Honeywell Forge platform. And therefore now they have a central cockpit of looking at all of their buildings. They are bringing energy efficiency of those buildings to a very, very high level. It's therefore showing up in your day-to-day bills of every month.
Balance sheet item straight away.
It's P&L and balance sheet. So you will see that operating profit show up immediately. But most importantly, you now have standards. You're providing the users of that building a common standard of experience. And you are then able to have a lot of data that you've now collected. You will build AI models on top of it to go forward, and that company with their stock of buildings is likely to then go into the market and say, you know, I have a premium on my building because I give you a much better end product than anybody else who's making just a good building. My connected building is far better. And I think that is happened. So I'm not saying it is conceptual, it is already
panning out.
Yeah.
As we wind down this conversation, one quick final comment about the India growth opportunity. One of the things that I keep hearing at Davos, when you see pessimism, certain countries in the throes of various kinds of difficulties, every single Indian CEO says that it's just about execution. We have a great growth path ahead. From your perspective, and you look at multiple territories, how does the India growth story look like to you?
So I said Honeywell is an execution company, so I would not say that about Honeywell India. I think we have a really world-class capability of execution in our India business, and that's why it's one of our best performing businesses globally. So I would then contrast it by saying I don't think it's an India issue. It's how you imbibe execution as a business model inside your company. We have more than 13,000 people in India, and they are doing fantastic execution every day. So yes, it is true generally that every company would need to do execution, but I don't think it's a specific to a macro India thematic that I would say. There are great companies doing execution in India, and we are an example.
Anant Maheshwari, I wish you all the very best to continue the great work you've done in the past and the future as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. With that, it's a wrap on this conversation. We'll keep coming back with more through the day. Do stay tuned in. Goodbye.